Hello, everybody, and welcome back to On the Diamond and Into the Deep. As always, I am your host, Mahal, and we are back after a solid 2 weeks, as we have been doing this month. And we have had a lot change. I mean, that's really the words that should be used to describe what has happened in the past 2 weeks. Last time we talked, the Mariners had just hired Dan Wilson and fired Scott Service, and the Mariners were really just in a kind of tough spot, in a spot where it didn't really feel like anything was going to come out and happen. Didn't really feel like they had much of a shot. Just had a really brutal road trip last time we talked, and look at where we are. Mariners are 77 and 73. They are a half game back of the Detroit Tigers for the first spot out of the AL wild card, and they are 2 games out from the Minnesota Twins, who have the third wild card spot. So the Mariners are right in the thick of it. Now, I do want to preface this by saying those 2 games really are 3 games in terms of tiebreakers, as the Mariners don't hold the tiebreaker against the Twins or the Tigers. Unfortunately, you really should have the tiebreaker against both those teams, especially the Tigers. It's a team you should hold the tiebreaker against, but you don't, and you haven't performed. And really, those Tigers series are the ones you're going to look back at. Those series and the Angels series, those are the series you're going to look back at the end of the year. And if you don't get in, that's why you don't get in. Those are the series that have absolutely 100% annihilated your season. They have blown it up, and it's really quite brutal. Now, that said, there's a lot to be positive about when we're talking about the Mariners recently. Victor Robles, Luke Raley, Julio Rodriguez, Randy Arozarena have all been really, really good recently. And because of that, the Mariners have found themselves back in really contention here for a postseason spot with 12 games to go. Again, 2 games back. Really, it's 3 with 12 to play. That is the headline right now. Yankees come to town for 3 games here against the Mariners. You are going to need to win 2 of 3 here, if not sweep. You are at home. You're probably going to need to sweep. Now, the biggest series left this season is going to be the Houston series. And that's not just because of the division. Now, that said, right now you're 4.5 games back of Houston. So let's say that you then go and sweep Houston in Houston, which is probably not going to happen, but let's say it did. You would then be 1.5 games back. That's possible in of itself there. Now, it's probably going to shift by the time we actually get to that series at the start of next week. In a week from today, actually, it'll begin. Like, stuff will shift before we get to that series. But as it looks right now, that series is for the marbles in the division. And really, for the Mariners, you have to come out of that series with a series win. Because if you don't, that's the type of series that's going to put you out of contention then in the wild card too. If you want to look at the Twins' schedule for the rest of this year, it's not easy by any means. I'll tell you that much. Neither is the Mariners, though. In terms of the Twins, loading it up right here, the Twins' schedule, they are in Cleveland tonight. They actually lost in Cleveland, which is why it's 2 games. I waited to record this until after that and Monday Night Football, which just ended. Tough loss for the Eagles there. But as I was saying, the Twins, they will finish up a 4-game series with Cleveland on Thursday. So they played tonight, obviously, like I said. Then they'll play tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. They then head to Boston and Fenway Park, which who knows what can happen there. You got 3 in Boston, off day next Monday, a week from today. 3 at home against Miami, and they will close out the season, with 3 games against the Baltimore Orioles, who have been struggling. But that is a good Baltimore Orioles team, and that's the type of game and team that could put a toast to the Twins' season. Now, that said, the Mariners have to take care of business first and foremost. If the Mariners take care of business and still don't get in, then really quite unfortunate there, and you're going to blame this on the rest of the season. Now, in terms of the Detroit Tigers, who are also ahead of the Mariners, let's look at it right now. The Detroit Tigers won tonight, which is why they are, I believe, a half game ahead now. They will have 2 more in Kansas City. Then they will head to Baltimore for 3 this weekend. They then head back home with 3 against Tampa, and then they close out the year with 3 against the White Sox. So that's a team that you need to lose this week. You need to get and jump ahead of this team by a couple games this week, and that's crucial. You also are going to need Tampa Bay to come up massive next week, because really it's between you, Minnesota, and Detroit. So you have to jump both those teams to get in. Is it possible? Yes, numerically. Yes, it's possible. Is it likely? No, not especially. I wouldn't bet money on that, of course. I mean, I definitely wouldn't put my marbles in the basket of them making the postseason. If anything, I would do the opposite. I would put marbles in the basket of them not. But we've seen crazier things. Mariners blew a 10-game division lead this year. They did that in a month. Like, we've seen crazier things. That said, it doesn't really feel like this one's going to happen. But maybe it will. We'll see. Now, as I look ahead to the offseason, this is another thing I want to touch on before I get into a preview of the Yankees series this week. I want to think about where this offseason upgrades are needed. Now, this shifts week to week, day by day. As the season has gone on, it has shifted massively. Now, here's where I'm at. Obviously, you have your mainstays, Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez in the lineup. Those two will be there. Victor Robles will be there, and he should be there. He will be your right fielder next year. To finish out the outfield, you should have Randy Arozarena. Your outfield should stay the same as it is right now. The other dude that I think should stay, in terms of starters, is Luke Raley. Luke Raley has a 20 home run season. He's been better than you expected. He's a whole lot better than Jared Kelenic was. That is an extra piece that has been really good for you that you should keep around. Because why would you not keep him around? He can be in a first base platoon type thing next year with whoever you may sign. Maybe that's Justin Turner again. Maybe Carlos Santana you can go get for a year. Maybe that's Tyler Locklear next year and you think he's ready. Maybe it's Ben Williamson at some point next year. Like, there are options. Now, beyond that, that's where the questions kind of lie. Who's your DH? Who's your shortstop? Probably JP, but who is it going to be? Who's your second baseman? Who's your third baseman? The biggest of those is going to be second and third. And at least at one of those, you need a huge upgrade. You need a good bat at one of those two positions. And preferably, in my opinion, you're targeting third because you have had way more success targeting and acquiring third baseman than you have second baseman. Now, maybe you go get a third baseman and then you go trade for a Brandon Lau type beat at second base, and then you roll with Cole Young off the bench and he can sort of fill in for JP Crawford at shortstop more. And then you have some options there. You have a lot of options there. Now, do I say that's likely? Of course not. But Brandon Lau feels like a Mariner at some point in his career. To me, it feels like it could be this year. Maybe that's a salary dump type thing for the Rays, and you have to eat some salary. If that does happen, then you're going to have to go trade some salary in of itself, and maybe that's going to be a Luis Castillo. Maybe that's going to be a JP Crawford. But in some realm or reason, in my opinion, you have to trade one of Castillo or Crawford this offseason. And that sucks to say. It hurts. It does. But JP Crawford has already had his career year. He is on the down now. Luis Castillo, similar type thing, and they're both on contracts that for you are high. They're both actually on contracts that are pretty fair for who they are, especially Castillo. But for you, these contracts are way higher than you need to pay. And with dudes lurking in the shadows of extensions, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Cal Raleigh, to name 3. You need money. You do. And it sucks that you're gonna have to continue hearing and talking about money this entire offseason. But it matters. And it's unfortunate how much it does matter, because it shouldn't matter. You're one of the most profitable organizations in the entire league. If not the most profitable. So why are you keeping your wallets closed and not letting your team go fight for a World Series? And I'm talking to the ownership here. I'm talking to John Stanton. That's who I'm talking to. Open up the checkbook. See us spend. Get it trending. Get it right. Like, it's time. It's been time. But every offseason, I'm going to continue saying it. It's time for you to spend, and this roster needs it. This city needs it. This franchise needs it. They are yearning for it. You need another star. And you're not going to be able to get this offseason unless you go acquire Juan Soto, which isn't going to happen. I'm going to say that right now. It isn't going to happen. And it should have been last offseason that you were doing that. You should have gone and gotten Shohei Ohtani. There's no question about it. And it's sad that you weren't actually in the running for that. It's sad that you couldn't go and throw out money for him. It's sad you couldn't put out a real offer for him. That's sad. But let's get back into the positive. As I was saying, you have to upgrade third and second, and we'll talk about that as the offseason comes and as we begin it. But right now, let's preview the Yankees series, and we're just going to do a little short one. We'll start with game one, as usual. Luis Gil, Ryan Wu, maybe the shortest name combination of all time for two starting pitchers, 6 letters between the two of the dudes. That's impressive in of itself. Now on Gil, let's talk about him for a second. Luis Gil, he will give up walks. That's we know. Now, if he doesn't and his command is good, that's when you are going to get shut the F down. This is one of those dudes. You've seen it with Mariners starting pitchers, not to the extent of this guy, though. When this guy has his command, this dude is one of the best pitchers in the league, and I'm going to go out and say that. When he has his command, he is really freaking good. But when he doesn't, he is really not freaking good, and he will get hit. He's had a couple starts in a row where he's been good. So you could take that as he's due, or you could take that as he's going to continue being good, and he's going to find a way to shut this team down. Now, with that, he is a fastball changeup slider starter. That is his repertoire. That is what he has. Only 3 pitches. That should make it easier, less to think about. We've seen the Mariners struggle when they have a lot of stuff in their head, whether that's a lot of pitches, whether that's just a lot of voices coming in from every which way, whether that's thinking about the batter's eye, as well as the fences, as well as the marine layer, as well as the starting pitcher you're facing, as well as the game plan. And once they simplified, they found more success, and you've seen that with Edgar in this past couple weeks. You've seen them figure out a way to simplify everything and find a lot of success. And now can that continue against Luis Gil, who doesn't have a lot of pitches, but his pitches that he has are really good. And he's been really good. But can you be patient? Can you work him? Can you make him throw pitches? And can you get into that Yankees pen? That's going to be the theme of this entire series. I'm just going to say that right now. The main key for this series, other than getting runs, scoring runs, is going to just be working their starting pitcher and getting into that pen, because that Yankees pen is shaky. That Yankees pen is questionable. Their closer, Clay Holmes, has been in and out of the closer role. It's not a strikeout heavy bullpen. And for the Mariners, that means that you got to go get hits and you got to do what you can do. And that's a pen that you can go attack. We saw it the last series we played them. We saw that. But you have to get to that pen first. Don't let these starters go 6-7 innings of scoreless ball. Don't let that happen. Because then you're relying, as you have this entire year, on your starting pitching. And that's how this team's going to win games. But that doesn't mean that you can just be doing that game in and game out. You have to have games where your offense is sort of picking up the slack. And they've done that recently. They've been able to do that, and they've won games because of that. Now continue that. Continue that against a better team than the Yankees. Continue that against a probably division winner as it's looking right now in the Yankees. If not that, then a team that is a game or two out of division in the AL East against the Baltimore Orioles. This is the team that you got to go beat. You go beat up on this team, you're feeling good, you're looking good, you're heading to Texas on a high, and let's go. And that's going to start tomorrow night. I'll be there. It's going to start tomorrow night when you have to make Luis Gil throw pitches, and you have to make him be in the zone. It is crucial. Absolutely crucial. That's about all I got on him. Game 2, you're facing Nasty Nestor. And facing him on your side, Bryce Miller. This is the two dudes that are tricksters with how they're going to fuck up your timing. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Like, these two dudes, they mess with the hitter's timings like nobody else. On Cortez, he's very different from Luis Gil. He's not overpowering in the same way that Luis Gil is. Now, that said, he's a command guy also, because he's not going to walk you. He's going to be in the zone, but he doesn't have the strikeout stuff that Luis Gil has. He wants you to get fly balls, pop-ups, because he's also not getting a lot of ground balls. His pitch mix mostly is going to be his fastball, cutter, and his sweeper. So that's three main pitches for you to think about. Focus on those three main pitches. And again, not too much in your head. Just keep this game simple. Baseball's not a simple game by any means. Like, at all. But as simple as you can make it as a hitter, that's how you're going to be able to find success. And you've seen that with this Mariners team. So find your simplicity to find your success. That is what I have for you. And that's what this team has been doing. And that's where they've been finding success again and again and again. When you see them finding success, it's because they find a way to make it simpler. So this series is not any different than any other. This series is about getting to the bullpen, getting the starters out, working the starters, getting good starts from your starting pitchers. And then it's about keeping your approach simple and scoring runs. That's what baseball is. That's what this team has to do. They haven't been able to do it, though, this entire second half of the year. They figured out a stride to do it in this past week, but can they continue it? Can you carry this over for the rest of the season? And can you go win 9 of your next 12? Go 9-3 for the rest of the year. Because 8-4 probably isn't good enough. 9-3 also might not be good enough, but it's a whole lot closer, I'll tell you that. You're not going to go 10-2. You're not going to go 11-1. You're not going to go 12-0. That's just baseball. But if you can start off this stretch, these last 12 games of the year, with a series win, series sweep, that's huge. What this season's going to come down to, assuming you can win this series and the Texas series, assuming you can win 4 of those 6 games, 5 of those 6 games probably, it's coming down to the Houston and the Oakland series. And hopefully it comes down to the Oakland series for not only the wild card spot, but hopefully you're in contention then for the division as well. Because not only would that be huge, just in everything that the season has been, just to finish it out with a shot. And would it be huge to go into the offseason with a higher beat than what they've been doing. But it's huge to just see them in competition and to see them have the ability to be in competition after they should just have coasted. They should have coasted to the division. It was there. You could have had your first division in 23 years. You could have had the first division in my lifetime. Second playoff first in my time. And as of right now, it's looking like I am going to turn 18 and we're going to have one postseason berth and no divisions. That's what it's looking like right now. And that hurts. That hurts in here. We're 45 episodes into this Diamond and Deep thing. And time again, I have said, you got to spend money ownership. We got to make the postseason. We got to win a division. Time and time again. Because we are not the New York Yankees. We are not the Baltimore Orioles. Winning the division is huge for this franchise. And making the postseason in of itself is gigantic for this franchise. And that cannot be understated, and that should not be understated. Because it doesn't happen to this organization often. It doesn't happen to this franchise often. It doesn't happen to the city often. So those of you who are saying, oh, if we get a postseason berth and then we just lose first round and we just get romped by whoever, and yes, that would suck. And yes, but a postseason berth in of itself, being able to say we made the postseason, that in of itself is huge because this team needs to get back to the postseason, and you need to be able to build on that in this offseason and next year. It is as if 2022 didn't happen, and the first step here is winning and getting to the postseason. That is the first step. 2022 didn't happen. Wipe it. First step to anything is making the postseason. And if this team can make the postseason, they can do damage in the postseason with the way they are built. And that's what I'm going to leave you with as I continue to game 3. And I will go over this again to leave it with you as the last thoughts. But this team relies on so much. So much. And this team needs a postseason berth. Game 3, Clark Schmidt, Logan Gilbert. Clark Schmidt, this is a dude that does not get deep into games. And this is, again, why I'm talking about. Get into the pen. Work the pen. Make them use their bullpen that has struggled, that you can score runs off of, and then really get to them in Game 3. And hopefully Game 3, you're going for the sweep. Schmidt is very much so a mid-starter in pretty much every way, and he's not getting any chase this year. That is a pitcher that the Mariners should be all over. He's not especially crafty. He's not getting strikeouts. He's not getting chase. That's a dude you should be all over. In terms of his repertoire, he has 4 main pitches: cutter, sweeper, sinker, curveball. The sinker will be the pitch you're looking to get hits off of, as it's been his worst pitch this year. So look for that. If the Mariners can get to the sinker, you can find some success. If you can get to another pitch, you're going to really find some success. In terms of my Mariners for the series, we're talking Bryan Woo. ERA of 0 after 2 starts in his career and 11 1/3 innings in his career with 12 strikeouts and 4 hits against the New York Yankees. Again, against the New York Yankees, Bryan Woo has an ERA of nothing over 11 1/3 innings. And again, he has 12 Ks to only 4 hits in that time. Bryan Woo is Mahal's Mariner of the series, and I'm expecting a huge start from Bryan Woo tomorrow night. 6 or 7 innings of no runs to 1 run ball with a solid number of strikeouts. We're talking 6, 7 strikeouts, I'm thinking. I would love to see that. Now, is that a little bit hopeful? Maybe. But let's bring the energy. Let's be hype. And again, my main key to the series, get into the bullpen. I said it enough times by now. You know it. I know it. Get into the bullpen, work your walks, and let's go win this series. Let's go win some ball games. 2 games back with 12 to play. This team is right in the thick of it, and it's about time we go make the playoffs again. On to the Seahawks. You have a really interesting opportunity here if you're the Seahawks. You've gutted out wins week 1 and week 2. Haven't looked amazing, haven't looked bad, though. There have been moments where you haven't looked bad or where you've looked not great, and there's been moments where you've looked really good. So where does that balance come in? You feel like a pretty solid team. Now, why I'm saying you have an interesting spot here is because of some injuries in the division. And these are some firepower injuries. You're talking Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Puka Nacua, and Cooper Kupp. These are the 2 teams around you. Now, the Arizona Cardinals look really good. They do. So maybe that's a team you need to be scared of right now. But those 4 dudes that I just mentioned, that is offensive firepower at its very best. And those are dudes that these 2 teams in the Rams and the Niners are really going to miss. That's huge. So can you go take advantage of that? Can you go win some games that you're not expected to win? Can you get to 10-7, 11-8? 10-7, sorry. Wow. 10-7, 11-6, 12-5. Can you get there? Never say never, baby. Never say never. And again, back to the Mariners. I just want to leave you with this. A successful season for this Mariners team is making the postseason at this point. That's a successful season. The expectation for this team should just be making the postseason. And maybe at this point, that shouldn't even be the expectation. But the expectation certainly, as of right now, shouldn't be to win the division. Expectation should be to make the postseason. That is first and foremost. And anything less than that this year is a massive failure on the entire organization and the franchise. And it's going to be pinned by a lot of people on Jerry Dipoto. And well, yes, Jerry Dipoto has roles in it. And yes, he could have done better. And yes, whatever. But I'm going to pin it on John Stanton. That's what I'm going to leave you with. Anything less than postseason is a failure. So thank you guys for listening to episode 45 of On the Diamond and Into the Deep. We are close to 50. Hopefully number 50 will be during the postseason. We'll have a lot of joy there. But for now, adios, peace out, go M's, y'all.